Ingles.
Well, quickly for VMI, we've talked about it. They got to find the range. They need to knock down threes. And for Furman bench play, as experienced as they are, the Paladins need some help off the bench today.
So we'll dig further into some of the confusion prior to the game for the Furman Paladins as we go. But Sean Conway adding to an early advantage for VMI.
That was a long two. You don't necessarily like to see that, but like to see the shot go in. You know, we saw that administrative technical before the start. You don't see that very often. Boy, as crazy as the 2021 season, here we are. Welcome to 2022. The craziness and madness continues.
Bothwell, and a good start for the senior guard out of Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
He's one of the SoCon's best. We talked at the top, right? He's a Player of the Year candidate, has been really good, but boy, there's more in there.
And coming away with that Alex Hunter, you see the Furman starting lineup. Hunter, their top scorer, really has elevated his game this season. A Paladins team with, as you saw in the opening graphic, one more win overall than the Keydets with 9, and a Furman ball club that I think suffice it to say, despite losing a really good player to transfer in Noah Gurley, with the return of Slauson and others, one of the front runners in this conference, and you see the Keydets starting 5.
Yeah, Slauson just shooting 30% behind the arc. Boy, his release looks better than that. I mean, look, he's playing as well as anybody in the Southern Conference right now.
Jake Stevens handing off to Trey Bottom. Shot clock coming up on 10 for a VMI team that's trying to get into the title contention conversation, and a held ball. The arrow gives it back over to the Paladins.
Well, that turnover will go to Jake Stevens, but Tanner Mans threw it too low, and it forced Stevens at 6'11" to become, a guard-like, and that's where we were able to get the held ball on the Furman side.
Jeremy Groh, in his third year on the coaching staff of Bob Ritchie at Furman. Where is Bob, you ask? Well, he and his lovely wife expecting their third child any minute. So Bob stayed behind in Greenville, and Groh, who came to Furman after a decade as an assistant at Xavier, coaching as a head coach for the first time in about 15 years when he guided an AAU team. And it was interesting hearing him detail that before the game.
Yeah, the Indiana Elite, one of the top travel teams in the state of Indiana. Mike Fox started that years ago. But look, Jeremy Groh is a rising star in this business. He will manage things very well in place of Bob Ritchie today.
Bothwell off the defensive rebound, and Paladins also down an assistant coach. Jimmy Williams also not able to make the trip. Hunter knocks it down from the outside. Their best three-point shooter at 47% beyond the arc.
Well, the kind of start you wanted if you're Furman. You made that point, though. They're down a head coach and an assistant. I think that's what led to that administrative technical not getting the lineups in time.
Bothwell again from long range. And Conway the rebound. So it's essentially Jeremy Groh and Tim Johnson, a skilled assistant coach for the Paladins, against the world today over on that bench. And it'll stay in the VMI end.
Trey Bonham in transition just got bottled up inside by a lot of big bodies. Thankfully, the deflection off the Paladins, and the Keydets will keep it.
You notice Jeremy Groh at the top of your screen, the associate head coach, said the last time he head coached in a game he was in his early 20s, to which I suggested he still looks like he's in his early 20s.
No doubt.
Paladins off another miss by VMI, trying to build on this 6-point advantage as Conway hit the deck. Marcus Foster off the hesitation. Nice finish by the redshirt sophomore Foster from just outside of Atlanta.
I thought Bothwell got away with dipping that shoulder right there.
Conway, big answer. Remember, he hit the long two to start the scoring from the field for VMI this afternoon. He pulls his Keydets back within 5.
He's only shooting 32% behind the arc. I mean, he is an excellent shooter that is certainly capable to shoot about 45%.
Quick hands, Bonham still a scrap with Foster. And we follow the bouncing ball over to Mans, who eventually falls on it. Conway again, left wing.
Well, up and down, it favors both teams. They both like to let it fly and play fast.
Off the miss.
VMI's got to get Jake Stevens invested in this game. He's only had really one touch, and it was on that turnover. Sorry, Pete.
Mans in the corner for the Keydets and knocked away right over to us.
And he's as good a person as he is coach. you know how difficult this job can be.
Little backdoor feed. Stevens to Kerfman. That's why Stevens leads this team in assists.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit Dan Earl for that timeout to set that out-of-bounds play.
Keydets upset the Paladins in the SoCon tourney in overtime last season. Eventually played Mercer in the semifinals. Yeah, that winning record last year, their first since Durga Balkum was here back in 2014. Hunter. And from the corner, overshooting the basket on his first attempt just in, Tyrese Huey. Freshman for this Paladins team. They'd hoped to redshirt, but he's seen action now. Over the past few games, he's gotten involved in their rotation.
It became evident as the season went on, right? You reach December and, hey, let's take that red shirt off of him.
Plenty of time in the shot clock. Kerfman off the kick from Stevens, and just like that, we're tied back up at 11.
Well, you don't want to leave Kerfman with his feet set like that, but when the ball goes inside, that's where you're going to get your best threes.
8-0 run for VMI. They started 2 of 6, are now 4 of 8. Slauson, whoa, what a great find, and Hunter able to oblige.
Now, Stevens went to double team there, and that left really a goal or a rim protector.
And a passing big on one end, a passing big on the other.
That's
Kerfman missing badly. Here come the Paladins. Slauson leads his team in assists.
Both teams, you have to get back. Both teams look to run and attack.
Huey. Joe Anderson with the ball. He just checked in. He's seen his playing time increase. No good for Garrison on his first attempt of the game. The transfer to their program for this season. Conway works on him inside.
No offensive rebounds for the Cadets. They've played, 6.5 minutes now. That's something Dan Earl talked about. Their rebounding has been pretty good here as of late, the last 5 or 6 games.
Hunter the pull-up. And Stevens the rebound. And as the Keydets bring it to the other end of the court, I thought it was interesting what he told us, Dan Earl, before the game about how they've tried to work on it in practice without getting anyone injured. As Honor Huff, their backup point guard, the freshman, gave it away to Mans and now Kerfman.
Yeah, years ago, rebounding was it was a tough man drill, right? Get in there 2-on-2, 1-on-1, and guys could get hurt. You just don't do that nowadays, but they have found some techniques with coaches and pads.
Stevens on a great find by Conway as the shot clock was winding down.
VMI has got to get Jake Stevens involved, and they've got to keep him involved. It doesn't always have to be for scoring opportunities. We've already seen 2 assists out of the big fella.
Anderson off a career-high game the other night against Samford. It was knocked away by Huey.
I don't know that we'll see a lot of shot clock violations, although the clock's now at 10.
And from the right side, it'll go down for Joe Anderson, the sophomore from Maryville, Tennessee. 14 points in their decisive victory Wednesday night against Samford. He's really seen his playing time pick up over the past month.
Yeah, in the last 2 games, he has set career high in scoring. Backup point guard, kind of the heir apparent potentially to Alex Hunter.
Paladins led by as many as 8. Stevens, 6'11", the senior, kicking it to the freshman Huff from Brooklyn. Kerfman on the wing. And no good for Kerfman, who averages 4 made three-pointers a game. He's among the national leaders.
Right. Ultimate green light, deservedly so.
Anderson the feed for Slauson, defended by Stevens. Key matchup in the game. And there's Conway, their second-best rebounder, better than 6 a contest.
Stevens will continue to talk about it as the game goes on, but boy, he's gotten his body in shape on Wednesday. And you talk about that triple-double, just a really, really good basketball player.
Bothwell battling inside with Stevens, and the rebound taken by Heen. Stevens, though, at 6'11", showing you his ability to get to the basket right there, just couldn't finish. And Jalen Slauson, just the kind of athletic skill. He was a high school football player, but he has really grown in his program, just like Stevens has during his time at VMI. Anderson hitting a second straight from downtown, and the lead back out to 6 for a Furman ball club, which jumped up early by 8.
Yeah, they have continued to defend well, right? They were really, really good down at Samford defensively. Arguably the best of the season for them. They're last, believe it or not, in the Southern Conference in field goal percentage defense.
The VMI team, which He's among the national leaders in three-point shooting. They get it from a lot of guys, like a diminutive fellow from Brooklyn, Honor Huff, his first bucket of the game.
A freshman can make shots. That's what he's in there for. And we know how much that the Keydets rely on that three-point shot.
Good job by Heen. Anderson, Bothwell the rebound. Anderson does give them a really good presence on the wing. Stolen by Bonham. One man to beat Hunter. Can't get the roll. Battle inside. Bonham. And the foul will be called. It'll be the second against the Paladins.
Good for Bonham to stay with it. Right, defensively, well, you saw that, that attack the rim. He just couldn't get it off. Watch it here again. Good defense by Hunter after the steal, but Bonham stays with it. He's a guy that was on the all-freshman team last year by both the coaches and media.
And made the winning free throw in the one-point victory in Cameron Hall for the Keydets on the Paladins. That snapped a 10-game losing streak in the series for VMI, and then Dan Earl and company rallied from 10 points down inside of 3.5 to play to force overtime in the SoCon tourney, and eventually came away with a 1-point win in Asheville to make it to the semis.
That was a terrific game. Just a real postseason battle for sure.
Anderson just picked up his first personal. 2 fouls in the game, both against the Paladins. Foster has the others. Stevens on the reach-in by Slauson.
And Slauson knows better than that, right? Step back. Not too much to give Stevens the opportunity to take the shot, but he's not going to beach off the bounce. Watch us here again, right? Just a tough closeout by Slauson. He's just too close. Take a step back, be arm's distance away. Stevens is not going to beat you going right or left. I will give Furman credit, though. They have defended well here through the first 10 minutes. They've not gotten spread out. That is, knowing that VMI is going to let it fly from behind the arc.
Bonham and Kerfman out high. VMI, a 37% three-point shooting team. That's second percentage-wise in the conference. When the day is done with Mans hitting that one, they may move into first place. We're tied at 19.
Hey, you can't go underneath the screen. Garrett Heen right there went underneath that handoff by Stevens. Really, anybody and everybody for the Keydets is going to shoot it. They have the freedom if they're open behind the arc.
Team with the ball leads the conference from beyond the arc, and that's one of the reasons why Jalen Slauson, a big who can step out.
We've talked about it over and over. He and Stevens, so many similarities, improvements since the time they stepped on their respective campuses. Both lead their team in rebounding and assists.
Huff can't get the second bounce. Slauson the rebound. Keydets are 4 of 10 beyond the arc. Here come the Paladins. They're 6 of 11 from long range. And 44% from the field so far in the game. Heen hung up. Slauson out front. And Stevens with, look at Bothwell at 6'4", took it away from the 6'11" big for the Keydets.
Yeah, that's just one of those possessions that now it gives the Paladins a second look, resets the clock to 20.
Bonham, Bothwell spinning inside, or rather Foster spinning inside on him. And nice move by Marcus Foster off the bump.
That was. He was a bit lucky there to collect himself, and then he found himself open underneath the basket for a fairly easy lay-in.
And back out to a 5-point advantage for Furman. Drive by Mans. Stevens out front, their best three-point shooter. The big fella hits him at 43%.
And that's the first time Furman has really, they got beat off the bounce, and then they were just in a kind of a situation where they were just tough closeouts.
Slauson! Heen found the big guy driving, and he threw it down.
Now, both teams really moving the ball well. Furman recognizing that Stevens is going to double team.
Bottom one-hander. Stevens off the rebound. Kerfman's been driving a lot more this season, but the door was closed on him. Here's Stevens. Slauson defended well.
Boy, Dan Earl wanted a foul right there. Stevens looks a little bit winded right now, getting up and down the court.
And Jalen Slauson. And now the Paladins going to show some pressure. Slauson with 10 points.
With Brennan Watkins into the game for VMI, I think Furman just wanted to make sure that he was able to bring it up, which he did, and get him set.
Watkins, another freshman, seeing a lot of playing time, along with Honor Huff. No-look pass and a beaut by Mans, but unable to finish inside Lewis Rowe, a freshman from Australia. Bothwell has a size advantage on Watkins. Huey, the give to Garrison, who's really added a lot of things that don't show up in the stats of this team this year. Garrison gets it back from the corner, and it rattles off no good.
Garrison, is as good as he is behind the arc, has now missed 2 pretty good looks.
Watkins with the ball out of Kearney, Missouri. They've got guys from all over the country on this VMI team. Kerfman, he's from just outside of D.C. And a cross-court pass by Rowe, taken away. Quick ball movement by this Furman team.
Yeah, it's been really good. I will give credit to both teams, though. Their transition defense, for the most part, has been really good.
Boy, look at the feed and the finish. Really nice job. Hunter giving the assist, and Garrison gets the bucket. He's in the scoring column, and the Paladins match their biggest lead of the opening half. Conway looks to respond, and there's Rowe with the rebound, taken away by Bothwell.
Yeah, that's about the 3rd time now that the Paladins have just stripped the Keydets of what would be a rebound.
Anderson, not that time. Mans brings it front court.
Jake Stevens needed that timeout and a quick breather. He's at the table to come back. Dan Earl needs to kind of get that lineup back in there. They need some offense.
And right there, Huey doing what is a signature of the Furman defense, getting a deflection, then the steal. A Paladins team which averages better than 8 takeaways a game, but it's the deflections that they really keep a chart of.
That's what they chart, absolutely.
Hunter, been their best three-point shooter this season. Really haven't needed him to hit too many so far, but once again, a stop for the Keydets.
Both teams letting it fly. VMI leads the Southern Conference in field goal percentage defense behind the arc. Furman, believe it or not, is last.
Rowe with Stevens getting a breather. Kicks it back over to Kerfman. Camden Kerfman, 41% beyond the arc. He's actually second on his team in three-point percentage, but as we told you, he makes 4 a game.
And the question becomes, there's been a lot to talk about in Southern Conference basketball.
And as you saw, next Saturday we come to you from Birmingham, a battle of cats and dogs. Catamounts of Western Carolina, Bulldogs of Sanford on our Ingalls SoCon Game of the Week, 5 p.m. next Saturday. Check local listings. Hope to have you on board and back to action. And empty possession once again for Furman. This Paladins team not only got the big win at Louisville early on, should have beaten Mississippi State just before Christmas, rallied from nearly 20 down in the first half to lead by 6 in the second half. Flip side, talked about it going to break for VMI as Stevens looking to work inside, will kick it back out. Shot clock under 10. Mans from the corner, and he can't get it to fall. Each team has found the lid on the basket and reached some possession. But VMI, after a bumpy start, took a West Coast trip out to play at Portland, took on the Pilots, and they went and met up with Elgin Baylor's alma mater, the University of Seattle, as Hunter can't get it to go, and there's Huff on the rebound. And that West Coast trip really turned things around for a ball club that's won 4 out of 5 and nearly beat Wake Forest a couple of weeks ago down in Winston-Salem as Stevens responds.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Pete. I mean, and first of all, that's a much-needed shot right there by Jake Stevens, and the Keydets pulls it within a basket. But, yeah, that West Coast trip was a bonding trip, and Dan Earl and staff will tell you, that was kind of a defining moment of this season where they played well, they came together, and we're seeing benefits, as recently as Wednesday in the win against Wofford.
Anderson blew right past the defender, and Joe Anderson shows you what he can do, the 6-foot sophomore. As you noticed on that play as it continued, Slauson got bumped in the eye. And I have a feeling Jeremy Groh and the Furman bench may have reminded our officiating crew that here with 2:46 to go in the opening half of play, there have been 3 fouls called, and all 3 have been against Furman.
Yeah, that's exactly right. VMI's got 3 offensive rebounds. That's 3 more than the total fouls that they have. It's not been a game really where you're just grinding it out in the paint. It's been more, there's been 28 threes out of 50 total shots. So, they're letting it fly both ways. And I think that's been a little bit of the reason where there just hadn't been a lot of fouls called. And neither team pressing takes that opportunity away as well.
Back out to a 4-point lead. Anderson heads over to the bench. He has 8 points in a reserve role so far. Stevens made the 3 moments ago. Unable to finish inside. Battle for the rebound. Bothwell pulled it down as he hit the deck. Foster with VMI doing a good job getting back defensively. Bothwell the pull-up. And the swat. Garrison. Hunter. And boy, look at Garrison. Seemingly wherever the ball is, but it is knocked out of bounds by the transfer from Drury University up in the Midwest.
Well, look, Dan Earl's group is not the most gifted athletically. They're not the biggest, save Jake Stevens and when Lewis Rose in there. But the fact of the matter is they're getting beat to some 50-50 balls right now, and it's given the Paladins some second and third chance opportunities. They're going to have to clean that up.
VMI 38% from the field so far, but 47% beyond the arc. Mans defended by Bothwell. Garrison getting the assignment on Kerfman, and again, it tells you about the good defense that Garrison can play. And a little one-footer not going to fall as the off-balance leaner doesn't go down for Kerfman just to beat the shot clock.
You talked about that, Matt. There's been some really good matchups at Slauson and Stevens and Bothwell and other, across the board. There's some really, really good matchups, and it's kind of favored the defense right now both ways as you see Coach Groh.
Jeremy Groh, if you're just joining us, guiding the Furman team today. Bob Ritchie stayed behind in Greenville. He and his wife expecting their third child any moment now, we're told. So
we know how good Bob Ritchie is a coach, right? 98-39 in his 5th season after taking over for Niko Medved. I mean, he's been fantastic as an assistant and now a head coach. That said, Jeremy Groh, as we talked about it, one of the good young stars in Division I. He'll guide his own program very soon.
Huff, the freshman. Wow, what a nice move over the senior Bothwell.
That was a very good move.
Back to a 2-point game. Furman has led by as many as 8 here in the opening half.
If you're VMI, you got to feel pretty good about things. You haven't played your best. You've gotten beat to some 50-50 balls, and yet it's just a 2-point game.
And that's the first foul in the contest on Stevens and on VMI, and free throws upcoming for Marcus Foster. Out of Atlanta, played at Drew Christian, and a really interesting player as we see him taking it to the basket there.
Yeah, just a big dribble into that last shot, and Stevens just couldn't get there to block the shot or even alter it, hit him with the body. You're right, Marcus Foster been better at getting to the basket this season than behind the arc, has really struggled from the three-point line. But a guy, Drew Charter, they've had players for many years. They've got a couple there right now. Did you see Foster knock down the first one?
Foster redshirted his first season at Furman. That was by design as Bob Ritchie tries, if he can, to hold guys back, and he was able to really develop physically and get used to college in that first year in the program.
That's an interesting point that you make, because they as much as any program in the Southern Conference have tried to, they term, Bob Ritchie will say, work while you wait, and they did that with Noah Gurley and others. But now, can you afford to do that?
Can you afford to not watch that? Oh!
My goodness.
Slauson, another throwdown. He's got 12, and the lead is out to 6. Coming up on half a minute to go. Slauson, the SoCon leader in steals. We just saw why. And the pretty finish.
Showed his athleticism right there. Keydets need a basket here to kind of calm things before the half.
Conway scored the first field goal of the game for the Keydets. That time called for the foul, and it's Slauson who draws the charge.
Boy, he does it on the steal and hammers it home, and then again at the defensive end taking the charge. He was set outside the arc. Watch it here again on the drive. He is clearly set. Feet behind the restricted arc, 3 feet behind above the basket. That is terrific help side defense by Jalen Slauson. Takes away an opportunity for the Keydets to score, and now Jeremy Groh alerting his team, let's take the last shot.
So the Paladins a chance to match their biggest lead of the opening half or build on it. Anderson to run this set with the shot clock turned off, and now we're under 10 seconds to go. Anderson, Bothwell, Anderson from the corner.
They remember the game here last year as well as that March 6th quarterfinal game. That was fantastic and a great win that secured a winning season for VMI.
Bonham and this VMI team, again, trying to get their first win of the season when trailing at the break, 0-3. Just their 5th home game of the year. 4-0 here in Cameron Hall, where they've been really good over the past couple of seasons. They were 11-1 at home a season ago. Bonham from way outside to beat the shot clock. He won't as he missed the rim, and that's not necessarily his forte. 33% and an early turnover to start things out in the second half for Dan Earl's team. And well, Dan Earl going after career win number 66 today. The 7th-season guide in these Keydets. He's done a fine job, and by virtue of their 2nd consecutive win in Spartanburg the other night against a good Wofford team that albeit was playing without its top scorer in Max Klesmith, I think VMI serving notice. They will be a factor in the SoCon race, and then when we get to Asheville as well. Away from the basket, both Foster and Conway hit the deck, and they'll get Conway for the foul.
You're exactly right that they're going to be a factor. Both of these teams are going to be a factor in Southern Conference play. They're going to be among the top 4 or 5 teams. VMI here, you mentioned it here in Cameron Hall. They are absolutely just fantastic. And look, the Keydets aren't here. And when they are, this place is crazy. They have won 15 of their last 16 here. Last play, I'm not sure, boy, Conway arguing that it was just he and the Furman, it was Marcus Foster just getting tangled up. He was a little bit confused that he was the one called for it.
Conway's 2nd personal foul, the first Keydet player with multiple personals. They went deep into the first half before being called at all for a foul for their entire team. Garrison on the feed from Hunter. And Slauson trying to run it down. It'll go back over VMI's way. So Paladins team now 6 of 22 beyond the arc, 27% in the game, and they hit him at 40% from long range coming in.
Garrison comes in shooting 46.5. He's now 0 of 3, just hadn't been able to connect.
Stevens doing what he's really improved on, playing with his back to the basket. At 6'11", he could be dominant in this conference.
You're exactly right, Pete. I don't think there's any question that was a point that they made at halftime. Try to go to him for shots and assists.
Foster can't get it to fall. Conway the rebound. Stevens now in double figures scoring-wise with 10 points. 4 consecutive double-doubles for the senior from Bunker Hill, West Virginia. Bonham, the little guy down low. The kick, Conway, no. And a nice job boxing out by Slauson. Bothwell doesn't have numbers, finds Garrison. Hunter from the wing. And there's Garrison once again. Again, a nose for the basketball.
Yeah, he certainly does. And interesting, most shooters, sometimes they don't necessarily have that innate ability, but he certainly does.
Conway showing you why he pulls down nearly 7 rebounds a game. Keydets try to get a little bit closer here early in the second half.
Jake Stevens needs some touches. I'd say 2 out of every 3 possessions, he needs to touch the basketball.
All 4 second half points for the senior big man. Give him 12 in the game. Hunter thought about it. Garrison will. Conley Garrison. Dean, you noted 46%, second on this Furman team beyond the arc.
He scored almost 1,600 points at Drury in Missouri, a top Division II program.
And the answer, Sean Conway, pride of Fairfield, Connecticut.
Conway's a guy that, boy, for his size is a terrific rebounder.
Slauson explored. Garrison on the baseline. Hunter, top three-point shooter on this Furman team, but Alex Hunter coming up empty. He's 1 of 6 beyond the arc so far. Keydet's chance to tie or get the lead back for the first time since early on in this game. And Bonham, the attempt.
Wow, I thought he was going to throw that back on a little pick and pop to Stevens, but the sophomore just stepped up, and that gives VMI the lead here.
First lead change since the early stages of the opening half of play. Bonham's first points of the game.
VMI had shown a little bit of zone in the first half, but primarily man-to-man.
And a rejection inside. Stevens knocked it away from Slauson. And against Wofford in his past two. Last season, he combined for 39 points in 2 games against the Paladins team. And Dean, simply put, coming out of the halftime locker room, VMI has been hot. Furman has not been.
Yeah, VMI 4 of 6. And part of that is they've been able to get the ball to Jake Stevens inside with some points in the paint. You know they're going to take and make some threes as Bonham hits the first free throw. But at the same time, and you see right there, 10 or more three-pointers made in 11 games this season, but they still need touches inside, and they've been really good at that here in the first couple of minutes of the second half.
Bonham's done all his scoring since the intermission. And helps the Keydets build on their lead. And an offensive foul is called away from the ball. Might have been...
It was Heen on the illegal screen. He was just running into the defensive player. That's an outstanding call by Michael Terry, the official.
So VMI a chance to build on this three-point advantage.
And continue to look inside to Jake Stevens. If he doesn't find it in there.
Nice job by Heen, deflecting. As they stress in this Paladins program. Bothwell, Sean Conway defends.
Bothwell with just one made basket, a three fairly early in the first half, just 3 points. He needs to get going for the Paladins offensively.
They're trying to end an 8-0 VMI run. Garrison 4 on the shot clock. Bothwell left wing. Mike Bothwell coming through. That's their go-to guy. Just his second made 3 of the game. He's 2 of 5 beyond the arc. Give him 6, and we're tied at 42.
Well, much like Stevens for VMI, Bothwell is a guy that needs some touches. He can make things happen.
Stevens drawing the double team. Looking for Mans out of bounds. Last touch by Hunter, says Ryan Christian, the official on the sideline.
Outstanding officiating crew here.
Only Southern Conference game, which was supposed to be a full Saturday, but COVID taking down the 4 other scheduled contests.
And what that's going to mean is really a compressed schedule as teams are going to have to start playing 3 in a week.
Kerfman has added the leaner to his game here in his junior season from just outside of D.C. He had 9 in the opening half, his first bucket since the break, and back in front goes VMI.
That's a great point. I mean, he's primarily a three-point shooter, but because he's able to add that to his game, he keeps the defense honest.
2 straight threes from Mike Bothwell. The 2 guys we talked about in our open, and each impacting his team on back-to-back trips. Stevens, best three-point shooter on this Keydet squad. Paladins giving us a second lead change here in half number 2, and now trying to build on the advantage. Bothwell pretty quiet in the first half. He is 9. Strong drive on Stevens. As Mike Bothwell hit the deck, and just like that, he's in double figures scoring. The lead back out to 3.
Well, they took the three-point away, and it allowed him the opportunity to drive.
Bonham high off the backboard over Anderson.
Well, and the iron very, very kind right there to Bonham on a needed basket to kind of just stop a little bit of that Paladin run, really a Bothwell run.
All of his scoring for Bonham has come in the second half. He has 7 points. Timeout called. They want to mop up a wet spot on the floor, and we get wholesale substitution.
And I think that's where Bothwell fell after making that right-handed shot over Jake Stevens, the layup of sort, a tough layup. But you know, we talked about it time and time again. Bothwell, true combo, one of the Southern Conference best guards. He was all-conference second team last year. He can score at all 3 levels. We've seen it now, a couple of threes and then the drive to the basket, and that's really what's gotten the Paladins back on track here.
Give you an idea of his big game ability. 30 points in their opening win at Louisville when they beat the Cardinals up in the Yum Center in overtime. Slauson, 12 points in the opening half.
And that ball just hasn't moved off of that one side of the floor, and that's what happens.
Good job knocking it away by Honor Huff with his 8th steal of the season. That's him with the ball, the freshman guard, now bottom out high. Huff in the corner. Bothwell might have impacted the shot. Foul on the rebound try. I think they're going to get DJ Nussbaum, who just checked into the ball game for VMI.
Yeah, they're searching for that guy that can give Jake Stevens a couple of minutes each half, right? It was Lewis Rowe in the first half, and well, he wasn't able to give him a whole lot at either end. Dan Earl and Steph now going with DJ Nussbaum.
Paladins right at 40%, leaders in the SoCon and three-point percentage. We've noted that VMI second in the conference, 37%. Anderson almost walked with it. Shot clock at 10. Slauson thought about the three, but a throwdown on a drive.
Well, Nussbaum got stuck on that dribble drive, the handoff, and just wasn't able to recover.
Back out to a three-point advantage. Furman led by 6 at the break. They were up by as many as 8 early on in this game. Conway mans from the wing. Nussbaum battling. Boy, contact with Bothwell. No whistle. Play continues. Bonham. The pose. 14 second half points for Trey Bonham.
He has been fantastic. Well, he's starting to approach that career high 20 he had a year ago. He's a guy that has really improved as a three-point shooter.
Bothwell. And nice move as Bonham hit the deck. Bonham actually now with 10, but he is in double figures. And it's really become the Bonham against Bothwell show here in the second half, because Mike Bothwell now with 13 and has done most of his damage since the intermission.
That's kind of what you can do. I can do just a little bit better back and forth right now.
Mann's kicking it. Anderson deflecting. Huff, still plenty of time with the shot clock. Boy, quick move from the street ball in Brooklyn. That's a great move by the freshman.
I give that little 5'10" guy some credit right there. A terrific drive. He's been defending pretty well. Now he's on Bothwell.
Foster on the drive.
Or on the low block, something he really couldn't do when he arrived here 4 years ago.
And he was 6'8" when he got here. He's grown 3 inches while at VMI. They're feeding him well. And he has become a really good SoCon player. Clean block for Slauson on the drive by Conway.
Boy, the fans wanted the goaltending, but the ball was still up on its upward trajectory, and it had not hit the backboard yet.
Slauson, like Stevens, among the league leaders in blocks. He came in with 25. Paladins have hit their past 5 shots. This time, a foul on the floor on the reach-in by Brennan Watkins.
Brennan Watkins going to be a good player for VMI, but having a hard time with a fifth-year guy like Alex Hunter trying to guard the crafty, stronger guard. Hunter, just a model of consistency. He is clearly the point guard of this team. He has just kind of continued that trend, right? Several years ago it was Stephen Kroon, then it became John Davis with a little help from Devin Sibley, and now Alex Hunter for the last 4+ years.
3 team fouls apiece here in the second half, as that was the first on Watkins. And our lead official, Garrick Shannon, we saw him talking with the folks at the scorers table and probably some kind of clock issue. And the shot clock now has been reset to 20 here in the arena. Slauson with the ball, 14 points in the game. 12 came in the opening half. Hunter and Slauson, their top 2 scorers. Second half scoring has been handled by Bothwell for Furman, but look at that little baseline hook. I don't know that I've seen that in his game for Slauson to this point, and he is 16. The answer on the other end. Conway doing some good work.
Well, you simply can't celebrate in any way, either way. Both teams, after a made basket, you've got to sprint back to the paint and then build out to the three-point line, because both teams are pushing it up to look for the 3.
Conway with 11 in the game. He had 12 in both contests against Furman last season. Slauson leaves it short. Watkins and the Keydets trying to build on a 1-point advantage.
Well, back to that Slauson jump hook. And it's much like Stevens, right? You got to pick your poison. Are you going to double inside? If you do, it leaves somebody open outside on the perimeter.
Bonham stepped out of bounds, or rather Huff stepped out of bounds, so the turnover. Furman had forced a very efficient VMI team into 8 first-half turnovers, and for the game now, that's number 10, Paladins team that came in forcing 13 a game.
Well, the game within the game right now, and you know Bob Ritchie just sitting on edge wherever he is in the hospital or there's his house, just wanting his Paladins to continue to defend and move the ball offensively for open shots.
Garrison keeps possession alive. Bob Ritchie and his wife any moment expecting their third child, so Bob decided to do the right thing and stay behind in Greenville. Nice move inside by Slauson. Paladins remain hot during this stretch. They're back in front by 1.
It's not like a broken record, but again, you have to decide, are you going to double inside? It's the same with the Paladins. When it goes into Stevens, are you going to double team him inside the paint?
And Dan Earl, I thought it was interesting before the game. We talked to him and asked if Stevens was benefiting down low because everyone had to be loyal to defending the 3, even though Stevens steps out better than anyone on this VMI team. He couldn't get it to go there. Tries to defend. Slauson knocked it away. Give the block to Stevens. I'll tell you what, the officials are letting him play inside. Watkins on the other end, and the freshman able to knock it down.
Well, that looked like a good shot right there. I mean, he caught it, shot it. 14th on the season, so he's made a couple.
Knocked away Huff.
And a couple of freshmen leading the Keydets. Dan Earl kind of pulling the right strings, knowing his team, right? Letting Watkins and Huff and some young guys play some extended minutes at critical times of the second half.
Foul trouble really isn't an issue for either team as we're under 8 minutes to go here in the second half. Slauson.
Still playing Slauson one-on-one in the post.
Anderson, who gave Furman a big boost in the opening half with 8 points, and he drains that one.
Oh, that was good defense by Watkins. He fought over, had the hand extended. That was just better offense by Anderson. Sometimes that happens.
Joe Anderson now 11, closing in at his career high. The very best in 2022. This is the first game in the calendar year on the SoCon schedule, and a tight one. Jake Stevens and VMI. 1 point advantage, trying for a third straight win against the Furman Paladins. Brennan Watkins, not that time, but the big hand of Stevens makes it a 3-point advantage once again.
We talked about it a couple of minutes ago, right? Getting his body in shape, just the ability now to get that second chance point. Watkins missed that last pull-up, but boy, he's playing extended minutes, and deservedly so. He's played very, very well.
Boy, Anderson unable to knock it down that time. Stevens somehow got it to his teammate Mans with Bothwell right there.
Fast as VMI wants to play, though, sometimes they've got to wait for Stevens in that trail position right at the top of the key until he posts up.
Watkins looking inside. If you follow VMI for a while, remember when Duggar Balkan was here, and primarily during their Big South days, they shot a lot of threes, but they were really up and down trying to get shots away early in the possession as that's knocked away from Stevens. But these days they really do go with more sets. They still shoot a lot of threes. Anderson tried to feed Bothwell. Now Slauson in the corner, and they'll reset. Anderson left wing. And look at Garrison fighting inside, but it comes away to the Keydets.
That's the second or third time now that a Keydet has driven baseline and a Paladin has just been late defensively trying to get that foot out of bounds to either stop the drive or take the charge.
Sean Conway checking back in for VMI. He has already reached a 6th career double-double with 11 points and 10 boards. One of his previous double-double games came in the SoCon tourney with 12 points and 12 rebounds when VMI rallied to force overtime and then come away with a 1-point win to get to the semifinals last March up in Asheville.
Conway listed at 6'5". He's the second leading rebounder at 6.5 a game for the Keydets.
Bottom, big second half continues for the native of Mobile, Alabama, the sophomore.
Boy, he
making
is
it a
feeling it.
64-58 lead, 6-point advantage, biggest of the afternoon for VMI. Slauson can't answer. Conway the rebound.
Yeah, again, Conway, that double-double you talked about.
Once again. Boy, Bonham may have just asked to check out of the game if he'd made that one, because that would have been some kind of hot second half. He's been really good, though, since the break. All 13 points scored since halftime. Slauson backing in on Stevens, a matchup we knew would be crucial in this game. And out high, Conway knocked it away. Anderson able to save the possession. Shot clock doesn't reset. It's at 5. Garrison. Off a couple of bounces, Conway the rebound.
I thought Garrison was going to save the day as the shot clock was going down. Just been a tough day for him. Just 1 of 5 behind the arc.
Now you're going to be smart in possessions of your VMI. Dan Earl wanted a timeout. Kerfman dribbled right by him.
For the years, and it's been tough here. It's tough sledding, particularly when the Keydets are on post.
Obviously, they're not back yet. We've got a couple more visits here, you and I do, Dean, and it'll be a raucous atmosphere. And that time, extra effort inside for Stevens. He builds on a good game. He's got 16.
We talk about Dan Earl. That's the second time he's called a play after a timeout that's resulted in a basket. First time was in the first half. That one, a big one to give the Keydets an 8-point lead.
They've matched the biggest lead of the game held by Furman in the opening half. We've got a 14-point swing in the second half of play. Slauson working inside, and Stevens, you saw the reaction. He's called for his second personal. Yeah, getting back to Dan Earl, the head coach of this VMI team, you look at his overall record, 65 and 128, but what a job he has done building this into a very competitive SoCon team as we see the foul.
Stevens didn't think he touched him. Boy, they're starting to kind of look hedged down. Not a true double team on Slauson, but they're making him think about it. But yeah, Dan Earl, you have to throw the record out. You know, Bill Parcells used to say, well, you are who you are. But I think in this instance, it's one of the most difficult Division I basketball jobs in the country. There's 353. I mean, it's clearly in the bottom 10. But yet what Dan Earl has been able to do and build a real culture here and build the right pieces to the way he wants to play. Outstanding coach.
Slauson now 20 points in the game. He's got 5 rebounds. You saw the point about his double-double ability. Stevens inside. What a great... And VMI trying to make it a third straight win against this Furman team. Stevens 18 points to lead the Keydets. Slauson has 20. For the Paladins, who need to rally late. And Hunter, a little wide of the feed coming from Garrison. Bothwell.
VMI doing a great job defensively, just showing almost a little bit of a pack line of sort.
Hook won't go for Slauson. There's Stevens on the box out. At 6'11", Dean, in this league and pushing over 250 pounds, I mean, not many guys can bow up against a guy like Stevens in the SoCon.
No, you go down the list, there aren't that many one-on-one. If you throw it to him in there, you almost have to double. And then when you do that, you leave somebody open. He's such a good passer. He's going to find Kerfman or Bonham or whomever for a 3.
And then on the defensive end, the box out.
Yep.
And he's tough to work inside against. Obviously trying to use clock. Keydett. Bonham, big second half for him. Rattles out. Paladins get the stop. They need to start getting some scores now. Here's Bothwell with Bonham defending. Lost his balance. And the Keydets, and aren't they happy for it? And Dan Earl said that he kind of will look at what a guy can't do first in the way you have to recruit and then build from there. As Hunter couldn't get it to go from the outside. Another big stop for the Keydets. But in Stevens, he could see the player inside.
Yep.
And he's really seen a guy grow, and he gives all the credit to the big fella from West Virginia for doing great work when he had to go home for COVID, got himself in shape. Anderson went for the steal. Bonham, shot clock at 10. Conway looking to continue a big afternoon. That would have been the dagger. Paladin still with some hope with about 2:10 to go here in regulation.
Well, at least the last 2 possessions, the Keydets have burned about 50 seconds on the clock.
Hunter, best three-point shooter on this Furman team, but he can't get it to go. And it's been tough for him from the outside. He's 1 of 8.
And now at this point, right, if you start fouling, you're fouling the 6th best free throw shooting team in the country in VMI.
VMI team 80% from the line. And let's see.
He's early 2000, but Dan credits so much of his basketball thinking and mind to Ed DeChillis.
Stevens off the inbound. It was knocked away by Slauson. Another big stop for the Paladins. They've missed, though, their last 7 shots. Bothwell. Strong move, and he'll go to the line. That's Jeremy Groh serving as the head coach today for the Paladins.
Watch Bothwell again. He's done that a couple of times here in the second half. He's a guy that really is, as much as you want the ball in Hunter's hands, and we know what Slauson can do offensively, Bothwell's the guy that can go get his own shot.
Yeah, certainly the player that at this stage of the game will touch it more than any on each trip. 81% from the line this year, second on the Furman team, but not that time. First miss in 5 attempts for Furman today. Each team perfect from the line before that effort by Bothwell.
I imagine if this goes through, you'll see some pressure from the Paladins.
Still a 3-possession game with 1:31 to go. Off the inbound, bottom defended by Anderson.
They've got a foul to give. I'm not sure exactly what happened right there. It was just deflected out of bounds.
They're going to say deflected out of bounds, and as you note, each team with
5-point lead to a minute to go if Furman doesn't foul.
And with a foul to give, it'll be Anderson picking up the personal. And that'll be the second on the sophomore out of Maryville, Tennessee. So now 16 fouls on Furman, so one more, and obviously 1-and-1 opportunity for VMI. Bottom hung up by Hunter, taken away by Garrison, but Bottom getting it back and able to clear midcourt, feeding Stevens. And one. There for the first time today. It doesn't even put him among the top 2 on his team. That's how good of a free throw shooting ball club VMI has. They build the first double-digit advantage for either team in this game. 1:14 to go. Slauson knocked away by Conway. Wasn't even looking at the ball handler. Now you got to foul quickly if you're Furman. And a timeout is called by VMI. Stevens, Bonham, the only one on the floor on this VMI team, under 70% from the line, in case you're wondering. Takes the back door, thought about it. Paladin simply defending. You see the difference. Shot clock to game clock.
Yeah, with 10 seconds now, they're going to play it out.
Bonham. And that's how it's gone in the second half. He's got 16 points. Trey Bonham combined for 27 in 2 games against the Paladins a year ago.
Yeah, Bonham, that's a career high. 4 made threes in a game. He's been really the big difference here in the second half.
Hunter will try again. Conway might have gotten a fingertip on that, but Alex Hunter able to knock down the 3, but just his second in 10 attempts. Back to a 10-point game with under 30 to play. Stevens. He saw his buddy Slauson throw a couple down in the first half. He wanted to get another one on a break. Foster from the wing. And a second straight made 3.
Team at 2-0, as no one else in the league is playing today.
And these 2 teams be the only SoCon teams that are on schedule, if you will, in terms of games played. They clear the pass midcourt to Stevens. He is going to simply kick it away. The final seconds will wind down, and the VMI Keydets